Invocation. Mr. Paul?
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you that we can be together tonight, that we have this board that you appointed to take care of our school district and bless kids that are here. Pray that you'll give them wisdom tonight and that you'll protect our school district, watch over all the kids that are here. Just pray that we'll see good things happen here in this school year. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you. Reading of the mission statement, Mr. Ryan.
In collaboration with staff, community, parents, and students, the Marlington Local School District will develop lifelong learners who understand and apply knowledge and demonstrate excellence in pursuing the highest standards with effective intervention to challenge every student.
Thank you. Any additions or corrections to the meeting agenda? Adoption of the meeting agenda. Is there a motion to adopt?
Second.
John? Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes. OSBA presentation, Mrs. Crumpler.
Okay, Capital Conference is coming up November 10th to the 12th. Just a reminder to let Dan know if you haven't already, whether you'll be attending or not. We still have time to nominate student groups for the Student Achievement Fair. The deadline for nominations is October 30th. There is also a deadline for student art submission for the Ohio EPA's National Recycling Day Art Show, which will be held November 4th to the 15th. The deadline is October 15th, so we let our, I don't know if our art department's aware of that. House Bill 147 has made some changes and provisions with respect to school employee misconduct with the special needs and autism scholarships, interscholastic athletics at a different school based on harassment, intimidation, or bullying, an offense of violence, violation of state importuning law, an attempt to commit an offense of violence or to violate state law, and conduct by a school official employee or volunteer that violates licensure code. For those reasons, they can go to another school for sports. The offenses can be by school official, employee, volunteer, or even another student. The bill indicates that the individual who was alleged to commit an offense of violence, violation, or attempt to do either must have been charged with, indicted for, convicted for, or pled guilty to committing the offense. So there's a bunch of rules that go with it. And the Ohio School Athletic Association and Buckeye Association School Administrators has developed a template that superintendents can use when considering the requests. They also, part of House Bill 33 has to do with purchasing tickets for school-affiliated events and the new rules. House Bill 147 will be effective October 24th of this year. Also, I won't steal Renee's thunder, but the report cards are out, and nearly 90% of the school districts have met performance expectations on the 2024 school report cards in the state of Ohio, and we are one of the schools.
Renee will be here next month to do a review of our report card. She did last year in October, so they'll ask questions that she reviews that. Okay. Welcome to September. Mr. Swisher, Superintendent. I kind of put Bob Fox and I both on here because we may chime in back and forth. We're going to try to keep this a little shorter. This kind of goes along, but I'm going to continue with my theme of reasons to celebrate, and we'll go from there. So the first reason to celebrate is obviously, it's been a while because this is a week later than normal, so we had the Starr County Fair. We started that, so we were able to post, pictures that came to us either on our social media pages and things like that. So our band did a wonderful job at the fair, and our students were fantastic. So we just kind of wanted to highlight a little bit about the fair and some of our kids that were there. So it was nice that the staff board kind of put some of the pictures together and then kind of have this set up so it could be sent out social media. I know I've talked to a lot of parents who really appreciate seeing their kids' pictures up there. By the way, Cora Wine was the Stark County Fair for the city. They had perfect weather. It was really hot, but I mean, it was like the weather-wise. Okay, moving on to that, we also have our Champions Day today. So every year, we started this probably about 4 or 5 years ago. We had Louisville, West Branch, Kansas South, and Marlington here today. We don't want it to be too big, but it's for our kids to kind of enjoy what it's like from a fall sports aspect of it, from the different schools. And we had a total of like 150 athletes basically come, and we had 200 volunteers come. So we had 350 people out there this morning, for this. So we had different stations. We also had golf, football, cross country, tennis, volleyball, and soccer. And then the kids got snow cones before they left. So we kind of sugared them up, put it back on the bus, and then head back to local district. So it was really nice to. We had a lot of pictures out there, but I mean, it was nice. And Gibson's up there, was a big hit today. That's the group. Out there, we'll give you a picture before we go. The band is actually out there, and every student gets their name called, and they run through the banner, and just like it would be if they were, in a home football game or anything like that. So the kids really just, have, a really fun day, a really fun morning. I'll say today. It's just. All right, so we've gone through this. By the way, that's a picture of what. If you haven't been down in the room, that is the complete content. Just so you know, so I'm going to just highlight real quick here. I'm going to, we did all this, so I'm going to skip all this to make you happy. These are all things we did, but I keep everything on one PowerPoint. We just start having different PowerPoints for it, because we got a couple of things we got to talk about. Hold on. Okay. There we go. So those of you that are not aware of my update or we just need to follow up, we obviously about September 10th, so we're talking about 2 weeks ago, maybe a little longer than that, we had a gas leak detected outside the Marlington Center. So right outside the Marlington Center, right out there between that and high school. It was just the smell of gas. So we did call Alliance Drain and Sewer and Columbia Gas, and they detected it. They shut off the gas at the main. So our main is right down here by the tennis courts, behind the tennis courts, that brick building that you see out there. Come to find out that everything from the main in is what they call in-house, or our problem. So we dug up the initial spot where Troy from T&N Excavating come out. Marlington Grant. It's the original 8-inch pipe. And chime in if any of you been on and off on this too. Josh has been out here, we've kind of gone through this. It's an 8-inch pipe that we thought we could just replace a section of the 8-inch pipe and be able to move on. But once we pressure tested the 8-inch pipe, there wasn't hold pressure, which is basically saying there's leaks throughout the pipe. We put a camera in. Either direction they went, towards the high school or back towards the main, showed potential problems. So they kind of just halted everything from there. Following week, I reached out to Columbia Gas and asked if we could have what they would consider their higher ups, so their engineers will come out. Well, I don't know what day that was. A week and a half ago. Like that. So we had them come out. Josh came out with me just to kind of listen and be here, because we really just needed, we had probably 8, 9 people that showed up with various opinions about what's best to do for our district. And we kind of came to the best conclusion was, since an 8-inch pipe is so big, we don't need an 8-inch pipe to be able to run the amount of gas that our high school needs. And when Mall Center,
they decided to run medium pressure too, so you can use smaller pipe to supply the same capacity, and then have regulators to bring it back down to the pressure of the buildings.
September 12th, 13th. So we kind of came up with a thing that they could run a 3-inch pipe. So they did find 3-inch pipe. They found a company in 3-inch pipe. They had it delivered the following week, around September 23rd. It came from Pennsylvania. They came in. They were going to pull it in through the 8-inch pipe. So Josh was there. They pulled through this nice pipe, and everybody's happy. We're like, we're moving right along. Columbia Gas is there because they have to be there. So we have Columbia Gas there, and we come to find out that that was the wrong 3-inch pipe. It wasn't approved. It didn't have a particular seal that was on it. I think at the end of the day, it was recycled pipe, but the company said it should be approved for gas, but Columbia Gas disagrees. So we have to go by Columbia Gas because it doesn't. Once you're at this point, Columbia Gas is the yay thing. So to find the right 3-inch pipe, they had to circle about 4 different states to get this 3-inch pipe. Over the weekend they started, and they did get it pulled through this past week. So it's kind of where we're at here. You can see it's yellow now. So as of today, there was pipe, and there's another company called Pipe Fusion. So they got kind of, we thought it was a straight shot. So we were hoping to kind of avoid picking up and make it look like Groundhog Day out there in the forest. That also is not the case. It actually runs directly underneath our tennis courts, and then it's a 90-degree.
Fortunately, there was no 90s under the
Yes.
tennis court.
So we lucked out. So there's the hole right outside as you're going out towards the football field is that's where the first 90 was. And that 90 then jets over to where the high school corner is, right outside our where we go in the gym. That's another 90. And then I know they have to do another hole over by the dumpster on the high school to be able to kind of connect. So there's another company called Pipe Fusion come in and basically fuses all this together. So that's where we're at as of today. So our hope is once everything gets fused, and then we go to the inspection phase. From the inspection phase, that's Columbia Gas. They're going to basically pressure test it, and they're going to push gas through to the degree. And then once it gets to the point where it gets to the high school, we're going to have to shut everything off, and as gas, we're starting off, and we're going to have to individually find every single line. Everything's going to have to be tested from there before we can turn on. So it's a slow process. Luckily, the weather's been very cooperative. We have tested the mini splits that are in the high school are technically heat pumps, so we put those in for air, as you guys did years ago. They've never been used for heat because we're boiler heated in high school. We did test them, they do throw heat, so we were just a little comfortable. There was a delay in the process. We were able to, the bulk of our building could have heat, there's just sections that couldn't. So we're looking into a little bit more. Looking at a ballpark cost, they don't want to get into it. So we pressured a lot today. I think
Too many unknowns.
but basically, I pushed Troy enough today, and he said it in a different, much nicer, I'm saying much nicer than Troy did. So he just said $500,000. I think he's high. I think he said that just because I was relentlessly annoyed today, okay, about wanting to quote or something show. So they have not given us a bond. They will. But he just said, listen, if you want me to give you a ballpark, I'll give you a ballpark. So that pretty much is basically saying, you know what, I'm not getting rid of that. I can't tell you what the cost is, but this has been they aren't, the pipe that he pulled through, we're not being charged for that. We're not being charged for the pipe that was bought. We're not being charged for the labor on that. That's all been, decided. There's still an ongoing process. The last 3 weeks or something. We'll see. But I think.
Thanks.
Sure. Josh, you got anything to add on that end of that?
You got it.
Okay. So, as you guys know, we got a renewal coming up. We talked about this. It's issue 35. I want to make sure you guys know what the issue is, make sure people out there know that. So it's, so we're going to, Bob can chime in too, but I'll just give you a really brief about it. So obviously we know that it's in 19, what you can say, and all this is on our website, just so you know. I just don't know how to make this bigger anymore because it doesn't seem to let me make it bigger. There it is.
There you go.
All right, these are our levies that have been passed. So this, the 1969, the 1970, the 1971, the 1971, and the 1986 are now all continuous levies. So the board, or even if you're part of any of these boards, at some point in time, you decided when it came back up for renewal, you just said, let's just switch it to a continuous. You're not continually every 5 years come to it. So the only two that are still voted on as renewals are 1990 and our 2003, both at 8.5 mils. Okay, that's just what it is. And obviously then our permanent improvement is also the same way. So we know that it brings in about $2.2 million. It's about 15% of our budget. Is it a new tax? It is not. You know, what's the cost to a taxpayer? Which, you know, it says they're $87 per $100,000 of the county auditor's appraised value. If the renewal is approved, will it increase my taxes? No, because it's a renewal of an existing levy, not increase. However, most taxpayers will pay higher taxes in 25 due to higher property values. So the question is real simple. We had this discussion last night with a group of township people in Washington. You know, the question that Bob and I get, due to reappraisals this year, because this is our third year up to the name, does Marlington local schools, are they getting more money? And the answer is yes. But it's not because of that particular reason, like it's because of inflation now Marlington's getting more money. No, it's because of the 20 mil floor. So the best way to say it, or the simplest terms is there's two laws sitting out there. There's House Bill 920 that was passed in 1976 that basically said when you pass a levy, when the school passes a levy, whatever millage it is, so so you pass it, you get this much money. 3 years later, they do a reappraisal. When inflation goes up, you're only going to collect what it was worth the time that you passed the levy. So that protects the taxpayers. It's House Bill 920. The whole purpose of that is to protect the taxpayer. All right? So, you know, the next question would be, well, if that's the case, then my taxes went up. I assume the school's got more money. Alan Harold made it very clear last night. The school's got not a single cent. That was actually his exact words. Okay. Called phantom rent. So people say, oh no, your school's got more money as they pass. No, not any more than what it was. So Alan, that was his exact quote. You want to call him and disagree with him? He might yes.
Did he say where the additional revenue went?
No, somebody asked that afterwards, and I wish they would have. So, on the other spectrum, there's the state constitution. It says, hey, you know what? When no district can go below 20 mils. So no matter what, if you never pass the levy in a district, your taxpayers are going to be taxed at 20 mils effectively. We've never been there because we have levies on the ballot that have been higher than 20 mils to support our district. But because of House Bill 920, our levies that we just showed you, their effective millage, what we collect now, because it's been so long since we've been able, we've gone down money, is now below 20. So then it kicks in, the Constitution kicks in, and brings it back up to 20 mils. So because your taxes went up this year, House Bill 920 dropped the effective millage that we vote on now, or voted millage down, and the Constitution brought it back up. So yes, the answer is if you're paying your house, if your appraisal goes up and your taxes go up, Marlington is getting more money, but only because of the state constitution.
And how much is that? I know we discussed that before, what it was going to be potentially, but do we have a number on what it's
about 449, I'll show you here in a minute. So the purpose of explaining this is because the question is real simple. We have a bulk of our residents consistently or historically that are very conservative vote no because of taxes. They like Marlington, they don't like Marlington. I don't know if that plays any role. They just historically just vote no. So the next question that everybody's mind is, well, then my taxes went up, I'm upset. I'm going to vote no for that levy this time because it's going to save me money. So what we made it very clear is that you can vote if the levy would go away and you vote no, guess how much your taxes go down? 0, not 1 penny. Because of House Bill 920. It's all it's going to do is leverage onto our other levies. So voting no is absolutely nothing.
So if the levy doesn't pass, then we'll just,
It's your taxes stay the same. You don't drop a single cent. Do you know who loses? The only one person loses if they vote it down, Marlington. Because public utilities are taxed at the effective rate, not the House Bill 920 does not play in the public utilities. Their voted rate moves right along with inflation. So if residents would say, hey, I'm going to vote no, they're voting no because they have a real issue with Marlington now. Not their taxes, because their taxes are going to change.
so that's a good point. So wouldn't it be prudent to try to pass an operating levy to match the 20 mil for that reason?
Not
So
necessarily.
that the taxpayers' taxes don't go up, but we would effectively get more.
What we do, we effectively get more because of the public utilities. What would happen is if they vote no. So Nexus, let's just use Nexus as the one example. Nexus by itself, just with that levy, the one that we're voting on, the renewal, brings in just by itself about $393,000, $400,000. That's only one of our public utilities, just one. Dominion, First Energy, they're all public utilities that all bring in money, but Nexus just happens to be the biggest. So if they would vote no, they get their money back. So they're excited. They're like, yay, whatever, good job, residents, thanks for giving us money back. Marlington gets nada.
So we lose that.
We would lose, we lose all public utility
The
money.
taxpayers would save nothing.
Taxpayers save nothing.
Well, that brings me back to my point. Wouldn't it be a good idea to try, if we look at another levy, to match the 20 mil 4 level so that we could leverage more taxes from the utilities? Because that would be the same as, taxpayers' taxes wouldn't go up, but we would get more revenue from, follow me?
I think I understand what you mean.
It's the opposite of what this would do if it failed, is what I'm saying.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess that would be a good question for Alan and John. Like, hey, what would you place?
I mean, it would be
What could the
interesting
board-
to see if we could pass a levy that wouldn't cost the taxpayers or the voters a cent, but would generate more revenue.
I kind of see where you're going with it, because then you're offsetting the 20 mil for it. That's what you're doing.
But we're guaranteed that 20 mil, so anything voted above that would take us over. But maybe if we got hypothetically way down. So right now we have about 54.9 voted mills. So it would take a lot of things to drop off to get voted less than the 20 mills, where it's held that way. Hey, Dan, would you, maybe you might help to show the one slide is under the levies, or the renewal levy slide? Maybe it's probably one of those. The top one above it. Yeah, now that second page, that's a good illustration of what's going on here. So this is a hypothetical of what it would look like with the renewal, and like what our revenue would look like without the renewal. You can see on the left side, the three categories here. You got basically class 1, which is residential, agricultural, class key point, it's not highlighted up there, but in the middle column, you see the tax rates. With this hypothetical here, Marlington would be at 20 mils in either case. That's that column B. So that's why we're saying that, whether the levy passes or not, Marlington's not going to get any additional money. But that third line down that's highlighted shows where things would change for us. We would lose the full voted millage of this renewal levy, which was voted at 8.5 mils. So we lose the 8.5 mils of collection against public utilities because they don't pay a reduced rate. The House Bill 920 that reduces rates, that Dan mentioned earlier, does not apply to public utilities. So that's why the millage still matters, even though it wouldn't have a direct impact as far as the residential taxpayer.
And Josh, back to your question, I don't think it's on this slide, let me go right back. It is, let's see, this slide. That's basically, you can see how we've gone down. It's tax year 2020. But back to Josh's exact question. Yeah, so the second one now. Well, without House Bill 920, basically, if nothing went on change here, the taxpayers increase without House Bill 920 would have been 26%, okay, for us. Without the 20 mil floor and House Bill 920 in play, whatever, it would have been 6%. But because of reflecting on current law, because we hit the 20 mil floor, it actually ends up being 17%, right? 17%.
Biggest changes in residential, but
Yes.
17.
So we're technically in tax year 24, without the 20 mil floor, we're at 17 mils. Is that, am I reading that correctly? Highlighted in the middle?
Oh, if
Yes.
we would have been hypothetically, like if the 20 mil floor didn't exist, Mr. Harold would have had to lower our millage rate, the residential one, to 16.9 mils to keep our collection the same. And even that should have a little caveat in the sense that you still have new construction. So even that's a good slide, actually. That middle part there, if you look across from that 16.99, it still ends up being a 9% increase because there is additions that come up. But behind the scenes there, it really is keeping it flat if it were to reduce it to 16.99 as far as existing taxpayers go.
Okay. Well, my whole point was to look into adding, looking at the option of a 3 mil operating levy to get us up to the 20 mil floor. And I think we may be able to get support if it translated to 0 tax increase to homeowners.
Well, see that middle part of the 20 mil floor, that 16.99, is truly hypothetical in the sense that it's the Ohio Constitution that says you can't do the 16.99.
So if we pass, we go above what we're getting now? I mean, wouldn't it offset that?
Oh, yeah, but we're going to be lowered from basically 20.5 mils here. Come January 1st with the new valuations, we're going to go down to 20 mil. We'll never technically be at anything less than 20 mil. Yeah, so we don't need to have a levy that will bring us up to 20.
But what I'm saying is, what Dan was saying is if we don't pass the renewal levy, we'll stay at the 20 mil floor, but we'll lose the additional revenue from the public utilities. Therefore, if that puts us at,
I understand what you're saying.
yeah, if that's at 17 hypothetically.
That's an interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah, we should look at doing a 3 mil levy for operating to offset it and collect the additional revenue from the public utilities.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I will comply.
Yeah, sorry, it took me a minute to understand, but I got it.
And
with all, I don't know how, this is kind of like a separate matter, but not, I mean, there is discussion about changing that 20 mil floor.
That's
No.
true.
So there is, I'm hoping to hear more this week. I'm down in Columbus with the legislators. I know this morning in our super meeting, they talked about, they would take a state constitution change and talk about the 20 mil floor, so you're talking about that, but what they can do is right now is, what the legislators could do, and they're talking about, is like emergency levies don't affect the 20 mil floor. So in theory, Marlington, the previous boards back in the 70s, in the early 60s, maybe in the 80s, basically were very, I would say, transparent with their taxpayers, saying, hey, you know, we just went through general operating levies. All right, so those did affect 20 mil floor, which then played into the why House Bill 920 was there. Okay, so everything that House Bill 920 was put in place for in 1976 was like basically Marlington did everything you're supposed to do. What was unintended out there was if districts or boards ran emergency levies or other types of levies, there's levies out there that don't count towards 20 mil floor. So you could run the exact same levy, put the word emergency in front of it, and it doesn't affect the 20 mil floor at all. So you still can collect additional money from your taxpayer. At the same time, your rest of your effective village can drop down. Marlington was never in that case. So there's been districts that in our county, many of them has been on 20 mil floor for years. And they collect additional money from their, you know, their levy amount. So it's, the legislators, I guess, are debating, hey, do we throw in the word emergency? Any right now, meaning retroactive. So if you have any levy whatsoever, then that would change. But that really, so that's about as close as they've gotten to the answer. So on that.
And Senate Bill 308 was introduced last month. That basically would make emergency and replacement levies also include in that 20 mil floor instead of just fixed rate ones that was designed to. So it wouldn't affect us if that went through just because we don't have any replacement or emergency levies.
One more thing to highlight when we close up here about, you know, this situation, and we were talking about Texas. With Texas settling in the Supreme Court, they went back to the original settlement amount. They owe some back, interest. Settled. Where we're at. So Marlington, at one point in time, will receive about $2 million as a one-time settlement. We will not get a check for $2 million. It's going to be broken up over the course of tax year 24 and 25. We're always a year behind. But we are going to get it total once it comes in. It's not like we're going to get one check that comes in or deposits into the operations of that, and then we'll move it into capital improvement. So, but that settlement amount will be coming. And then obviously moving forward, and again, all of this is on our website. If anybody wants to get on, look at every one of these slides available right now. I told you we've been collecting about 1.3 million. With the settlement moving forward, it will roughly be about 1.9. So it won't be that much coming into this year. It's a little bit off, but that's kind of in general where we're, and then it will slowly depreciate from there. So you see here we're at 1.3, 1.9, down to 1.8.
In rough terms, it's about a $500,000 increase per year. We will see about half of that in fiscal year 25. So this school year in the spring.
You know, some of the questions like what you do with that money, and some people just
Currently, all that money is here tagged for
Capital
farm improvement or capital.
improvements is where that goes. So, which
Yeah, no,
we do. So right now, that's where we're at. So it's gas leaks. You can look at, and I'm not going to, you know, we had some of this for, as I present or Bob presents, as we make our, you know, some try to get out to the community, like district expenses, revenue sources, those are on there, so you guys can, happily take a look on stuff that you guys probably don't already know, but I knew we needed to talk about the reappraisals, House Bill 920.
It is ironic that we'll be using pipeline money to replace our pipeline, so just want to share. Glad to see
That
that.
is, you're right.
People that attended last night appreciated the descriptions and the information you gave and understood what was happening. And a lot of them just didn't before and really appreciated what you had to say last night.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a little complicated, I'm just trying to.
No, they felt like you made it very clear, very crystal clear.
No, to sum up, like we said last night, we're not advocating for somebody to vote one way or another, just the facts are the facts. At the end of the day, this is a particular situation where we can honestly say, there's no, voting no because you don't like taxes, it's not going to change your taxes. Okay, the only people that get hurt are the students of this district, staff of this district. So it's important that people realize that, and get that out.
It's a benefit to the utilities companies.
Well, we're using our public utilities to improve our buildings. So basically you're voting no, and you're basically saying I'm also voting no for our buildings. That's kind of, I can't be more clear about that. People don't have to like that, as I said last night, but that's okay. So we're hoping that, we get that word out as much as we can. And people understand that it's very critical in this election when they vote in November, and when they see Marlington local schools for renewal, that they want to vote appropriate. Any other questions? Shut this down.
You can leave it open. It's fine.
Good.
Public participation. Did anyone have questions on me? Who's talking here?
Yes, I'd like to welcome Jason Nutter. He's here. I'd like to address the board in regard to athletic training service.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Good evening, Board of Education, administration, staff, alumni, Marlington family. My name is Jason Nutter. I have 2 daughters that attend Marlington schools. I would like to address an issue that's been plaguing the district and our athletic team since January of this year. The lack of proper athletic training services at our high school is embarrassing, unacceptable, and very irresponsible. Since Jen moved on from Marlington full-time and Akron Children's failed us by not fulfilling her role at Marlington prior to her transfer, we have been without proper services for our student athletes. Sure, we have had some sources cover some of the games at the high school, and they're taking care of our kids, but who's here when there are not games taking place? These times are the most crucial for our students getting back on the field after an injury, working through concussion protocol, nutrition, and other medical advice necessary that's beyond the scope of our coaches. I'm an athletic trainer at Summa Health. I applied for the position in January with Akron Children's. Somewhere between the interview with Shay at Children's and before the scheduled interview with Steve at Marlington, Steve canceled on me. Then in turn, it turned into a blame game between Steve, Mr. Swisher, and Akron Children's on why they could not move on any further with my application. I was in a situation 12 years ago where an obsessed student at Indian Valley was sending me pictures of herself. While I tried to get her to stop on my own, my wife went to the parents to tell them we were taking it to the school's administration. This turned into a he said, she said, and since I was the adult in the situation, I was charged with contributing to her delinquency because I did not report these pictures immediately. Since then, I've been fully reinstated through the National Board of Certification, Ohio Athletic Training, and was in court Tuesday to have my misdemeanor charge expunged. However, the prosecutor did not show up, so that is now delayed. I have volunteered many times in the last 10 years at various events for this community, like coaching some of your children in AU softball, school dances, PTO events, and umpiring many youth baseball and football games. I refereed baseball, softball, and football here at Marlington. Recently, I was a ref in a JV football game where our opponent needed an athletic trainer. However, there was not an athletic trainer available, and this athlete was delayed needed care. This past Friday, I counted 12 instances on our football field as athletes were cramping. Yes, there were 2 athletic trainers on the sideline to provide immediate care. However, the nutrition and hydration the week leading up to that game is most important. So why does Marlington have to use Akron Children's? There are many other hospital systems and clinics, Cleveland Clinic, SUMA, NovaCare, district hiring on an athletic trainer directly with the backing of a physician. I've stated to Mr. Swisher, Mr. Hilliard, and Steve previously, I am willing to volunteer my time in the district until full-time replacement is found and to provide proper services. Please, just because Akron Children's is free does not mean we have to stay with them. Are we
Your
really
time is
living up
almost
to
up,
every
Mr.
minute?
Nutter. Please try to close quickly.
Are we really living up to every minute, every moment, every memory? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Old business.
Okay, old business. Recommend the motion, Marlington Local School Board approve the minutes of the following meeting as shown in Exhibit A, to the minutes table, last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? John?
Yes, John was
Call vote, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Okay, new business. Number 1, recommend the motion to approve the following foreign exchange students for the 2024-2025 school year as shown in Exhibits B through E.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
We have 9.
This is 4 tonight. 4 for tonight that we're approving.
They've been here. We have 9.
What are their names, Ann?
I typically do not try to pronunciate names.
We have Fabio,
Fabio.
Gabriel.
It's Fabio.
Okay, whoops.
But we're not getting it.
Yeah, we're not gonna get the others. Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
The second new business tonight is recommend the motion to approve the following transportation and move agreements for the 2024-25 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Is that your motion, Kathy?
Exactly.
Any discussion?
No, it's just another one we had in transportation and move. We usually get most of them in July and August.
Yeah. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes. Okay, the treasurer's agenda.
I'd like to recommend that the board approve the minutes from the August 15th regular and the August 15th work session.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Any discussion? Call. Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Next item is financial reports. I'd like to recommend that the board approve the financial reports for the month of August.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll provide a couple highlights here. Let me know if you have any questions. Marlington finished the month of August with a balance of $11,696,215.74. For operational purposes, we were left with a cash balance of $9,270,000, or $9,270,071.07. We've also processed During the month, we were provided with a report also that shows the checks that were paid, that were generated, totaling $1,239,725.18. That's really the only highlights I have right now, but are there any questions about the reports? Pretty much getting things in the groove here with the school year now, with a couple months under us in the new school year.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is a fund-to-fund transfer. I would like to recommend that the board approve a transfer of $285,000 from the general fund to the termination benefits fund.
So moved.
Second.
It says
284 and 265.
Oh, okay. There was a more recent version I thought I got incorporated in your printed out. It's online. It's 200.
285 online is correct.
So, yeah, that was just the
Please let it
adjustment I made today.
Please let it read 285,000.
And a couple comments about that. It's largely to cover, well, it's entirely to cover retirements, severance pay, the payouts that we have of remaining vacation time, sick leave, 1/4 of people's sick leave when they leave, for example. The payments that we have estimated right now are $260,043.84 at this point in time. So that's a little over twice what we had last year, or about twice. We usually have the fund keep a balance of $130,000 in there, so this is a pretty significant increase, more than expected. And it just has to do with the number of people that signed up to retire and how much experience they had and how much we owe them for the contract. So nothing that we could really control. And ultimately, it helps us some, I think, too, in the sense that generally when someone with that much experience leaves, they're replaced with someone that's going to have a smaller salary.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
Next item I would like to recommend is the board approve the budget and revenue revisions as presented.
So moved.
Second.
There's a fair number of items on this at this point in time. I'll try to highlight them for you quickly. The items that you'll see for, and I'll be going back and forth, or you can, between the budget and revenue side, they usually correspond. In the general fund, we see revisions of $619,000 for the budget. And that's for two things. One, we have the $285,000 in termination benefits that we just discussed. But also, I need to add money in there for the expected pipeline increases. We do a transfer every year, typically, to the capital projects fund of the pipeline money. And with the changes that Mr. Swisher and I discussed about the increase in value, increase in revenue expected from the pipeline, need to increase the budget in that transfer account so that when directed to make that transfer, it's already appropriate. That's the biggest item on here. You can also see the appropriation change of $285,000 in the termination benefits fund, which is 035. And two related to federal grants. Actually, make that three. One for a state grant. In athletics, we needed some more as well too this year, based on some of these, like the athletics ones, are driven by, or the 300 fund ones are driven by fund forms that people turn in each year, where they estimate how many fundraisers they're going to do and how much their expenses are. So essentially, all these adjustments that you have here, except the two big ones I mentioned, are kind of regular business with getting them aligned with what we expect to have for these grants and these various funds. On the good side, I guess I should mention this too. Like we did have in 572 another grant added, the McKinney-Vento grant, $9,200.
The agricultural education.
That as well too. That's new.
That's great.
Yeah, there was another grant that was applied for.
Applied for two grants back in June. That was one, and we did get that one. It's a little bit smaller one. We applied for a larger one. It was the second round of the CPE grants for Governor DeWine. He released those today. So there was roughly 34 districts were awarded. There was hundreds that applied. We were not one. Actually, there wasn't a single school in Stark County that got awarded money this time around. So we have reviewed, Renee and I reviewed the scoring rubric. We have, you get to 32 to, if you award the grant, we're at 26. They kind of explain why. It's different. It's a three-panel judge. It always is. They give you how they rate you, and it's just it's interesting because some judges will give us 8 on a section, where others will give us 4. So if there's any consistency amongst it, we had a good shot at that. So we're gonna take a look, but we'll go at it again. We did, but so we don't know if we played a role that anybody had a grant the first time around. If they didn't look at it, because we didn't see on the list of 34 schools that got it in the state of Ohio, nobody had that grant one previous to that too. So we don't know if that played a factor in the decision-making process. We don't know. Neither here nor there with the nonsense. We'll take this one and learn from it.
Yep.
Okay, question. Yes. With all these grants and all these different revenue streams, what is our lack of better tools? What's our effective operating budget? Is it still like 27.8 million a year? Not to get the exact figure. I'm just actually we have 34 million listed there.
General fund?
General fund, that's budgeted. Exactly. That's what we anticipate as a budget. Yeah.
Yeah, I can get you pretty accurate here. The operating budget for all essential purposes here is we're estimated just over 25,174,ish for this year.
That's for like our core. Just when people ask what kind of business we are, I say we're about $26 million company, give or take. You can go up or down there, $1 million here, $1 million there, depending on grants in any particular year. But
Yeah, it's just over 20.
and we're basically a 50-50 district. We're basically 50% of our original budget comes from the taxpayers, and 50% comes from federal or state aid or grants.
Okay, revenue budget revisions, call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan? Yes. Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes.
I'd like to recommend that the creation of a new fund, Fund 007-9122, the Joe Farrell Memorial Fund.
So moved.
Second.
and the details.
Mr. Tony Farrell approached me, what he wished to set up a fund for the benefit of Marlington students in memory of his brother, Joe Farrell, who was a Marlington student. So Tony Farrell organized a golf event this spring or summer here, I think summer, and it went very well. And he'd like that money to be used here for Marlington students. So we'll be working out the details of exactly how that will be administered, what the terms are for the scholarships. But his event was successful enough that he was able to also provide us with a $5,000 donation to get this fund started. And that's the next step, so I'm jumping ahead.
Okay. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Ms. Humphries,
Yes.
Ms. Krupko,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
I'd like to recommend the board approve the donation received from Joe Farrell Memorial Foundation, Tony Farrell, in the amount of $5,000.
So,
Second.
Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Ms. Humphries,
Yes.
Ms. Krupko.
Yes.
Okay, personnel. The board is okay. I would just, for the personnel section, I will consent and go through the list. Okay, we have 2 certified retirements for the end of the school year, Mr. Marmon and Mrs. Lynn Francis. We have 1 classified retirement right now, that's Mrs. Robin Caruso out of Washington Elementary. We have a few classified resignations that happened in the last 5 weeks. We then have classified staff hires to replace those and that we're still looming from, that we have not hired in August back at the end of summer. We have 1 classified transfer, which is a custodian over to a head custodian over at Washington. We have our typical classified substitutes that we hire, as we can add. We have subs. We have our permanent subs, some preferred subs. We have 1 person for extended days. That would be the guidance counselor at Lexington that came on board. She did a lot of cover with her over the summer. We had to have her come in to replace Rayle Norman. And we have a couple supplementals pretty close to wrapping up. But to point out, we would be hiring the new girls head softball coach tonight. He's on here, Mr. McDanish, that I put in my update for you guys. That's it.
Great.
Need a motion?
We don't need a motion, sorry, Chair.
So moved.
Second. Who is seconding then? Who is coming? We'll see, Kathy. Okay. All right, call the roll, please.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Ms. Krupko,
Yes.
Ms. Humphries,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Okay, upcoming events. Homecoming games tomorrow night. Homecoming is Saturday night. So that's here at high school. Next Friday is our community day. The weather looks really good for that. We look out, so I'm hoping it stays that way. We get a change in the weather. That'll be our community day. And that's also our Athletic Hall of Fame inductions that night. So if you can make it that night, so we'll be inducting our Athletic Hall inductions, and then we will have a reception in the Mall Center in between at halftime. You would ask me all the inductees. I got them here, but there's a list there, so. No. Great question. Good list. All right. So we have Sean Kirk, Brock Begg, Bob Hodo, Josh White, Zach DeZenzo, Blaine Hemmelheber, and Scott Robinson. that's what's. Good question. October 9th, didn't get an invite, we'll make sure it gets out. That's our minister's breakfast here at the middle school. So follow up with me if you got any questions about that. And other than that, we have our next Board of Education meeting. Sorry.
October 17th, 6 PM, right here in the building. Okay, so motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sure there's no discussion.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Ms. Humphries?
Yes.
Ms. Krupko?
Yes. Thank you.
61 minutes.